Hey all, welcome back to Coffee Shops and Sunny Spots and back to our favorite segment of the channel, Shoot Your Shot Saturday. Hope everyone had a happy New Year's. Hope everyone enjoyed it, had a good time. Let me know in the comments what you did, if you did anything fun and exciting. And let's get right into it. So as you know from the teaser, we talked about this, what we're going to cover today, which was the topic of curiosity. All right, so it is getting towards that time of year. Love's in the air. Valentine's Day, we all know it. We all see it coming. Some folks are on the spectrum of, they're walking in rose petals and chocolate right now. Other people are like, get away from me, Cupid, swatting them away. Other folks are somewhere in between. So this topic may help you out. It's also a little bit of a life hack topic as well. So, hopefully everyone gets something out of it. Remember how we get these topics I talk about on the segment is what you leave in the comment. So it's very important for that interaction that if you don't do anything else, if you don't know those buzzwords of like, subscribe, and follow, and share, of course, then please just leave a comment in the bottom and let me know what you'd like me to cover on the channel. And I will do my best to. If I'm not an expert on that, then I will try to research it and maybe get an opinion on that topic. And, again, because what we're here to talk about today, curiosity, and I am a curious person. So without further ado, let's shoot that shot. So, 1792, small batch, 93 proof. I would call it like a mid-shelf, I believe. And from my opinion on it, I think it's a good sipping whiskey, bourbon whiskey. Smooth. There's not a bite to it. It's not like Jack where you have to do this afterward, or Jim Beam. Not that those don't have their place, but in my opinion, those are more like I pass that around my boys at the campfire. Not that I want to have that at, like, say, like a business dinner party or some other kind of like social dinner party or social event where I need to hold various conversations and things like that. Just kind of want to, talk a little bit, have my sip in between, those type of things. So yeah, it's very good. I mean, I would enjoy it. I tried it first with Christmas. A good friend of mine in a mason jar, him and his wife make these mixers for beverages. So in the case, they gave me like an old-fashioned one because he knows I like old fashions. Other people, I think they had like a sangria mix or whatever. They gave some other people or wherever, but it was good. It had the homemade ingredients in it, and you had to add your own beverage to it. And so I chose this to add. The creative director picked this up for New Year's Eve, and I had not tried this before. And so I really had not had the experience of drinking it without as standalone because I just decided to straight mix it and go for it. But it's a really good flavor profile. So yes, I highly recommend it. But without further ado, curiosity. Curiosity. That's one of those things in life that it helps you grow and develop if you're curious and want to learn things. The way it relates to people situations with curiosity is having a fundamental understanding of what someone's into and what they're about can be huge, right? Especially if it's a partner of some sort, that you can, one, make their day with understanding what they are into, what they're about. For example, again, say, a lot of men are into, a lot of guys are into sports, and certainly a lot of women are into sports too as well. But I'm going to take it from the guy perspective for a second. Like if I'm a football player, basketball player, whatever, baseball, tennis, you name it, right? Again, girlfriend, wife may not be into that necessarily as far as participating. But you know what you can do sometimes with curiosity? Instead of the game went poorly and they come in like, oh, we lost or wherever it is, or a favorite team, maybe they're just big into sports watching it. Favorite team watching, you're not into it. Just asking, instead of asking like, just, oh, how'd the game go? Or something super surface, which is nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean you don't care. However, but if you ask that question and flip it to like, oh, what could you have done differently? Or, where did it go bad at that particular time? Things like that, just showing that little bit of interest sometimes, it goes a long way, or vice versa. Depending what, again, if wife, girl, they're into sports and some play actually, then same thing would apply. Say that I tell you today, just flip-flop it, all right? So we don't have to keep going back and forth with that. Just flip-flop it, right? But, in those cases like that, you want to just know a little bit deeper than the surface, right? Show that you care. Show some concern that you're actually interested versus just the top part. Because it could be like a love language in a way, if it's music, for example. Music, that is some people's love language, could be art. So you definitely want to do that. Connect on a little bit deeper level, I think, creates a better bonding situation. If it goes outside into, work and business, things like that, research. If you know a little bit about what someone's into, it can go a long way. Quick example, when I started out, I was law clerking, and I had to go to different courts to file different documents for the attorneys, right? So young, eager student doing that. There was a guy who was known to be difficult when you go to him for stuff. Like he would go over, not that he shouldn't go over stuff with fine tooth comb in the legal world, but he took it extra, right? He was like what they would say now, he's doing too much. But I found out from one of the attorneys, because one of the attorneys was younger, obviously older than me, but closer in age bracket. It was kind of my mentor or whatever. And you know that he's one who hired me to clerk with him, give me the chance. And he's like, yeah, he's like, you know, he's into computers and tech stuff. Like, if you talk to him about that, everything's like butter, you know, dealing with them. Now, the senior attorneys in that office were just old school. Like, look, quit giving me a hard time. Like, there's different level of respect, old school. They didn't care about what he was into, but even though he was like the gatekeeper, you needed him, right, in that setting. So I learned a little bit about the IT stuff. I wasn't a big techie. I know about computers, and that's the difference when the kind of that generational thing occurs, where the more senior attorneys just weren't into that because that tech wasn't as relevant when they were coming up, and the bells and whistles as it was, you know, going back, this is like 18, 19 years ago, something like 20 years ago almost. So I did that, and you know what? Our relationship changed. Like, that guy going there, it'd be smooth. Like, we go through the stuff, he kind of glance over, make sure things were in order, but he wouldn't like deep dive into like things that were just more nitpicky versus procedurally had to be a certain way. It's just his opinion how it should have been. Like, that stops. So, you know, real world example of curiosity. But something else that piqued my interest and that the creative director's into, and it seems like all these women are into nowadays, it's always kind of been around, are these fantasy books. I call them fantasy smut, right?
It's romantasy.
It's romantasy. Apparently, the creative director is saying romantasy. So, fantasy smut. That's what this stuff is, right? Won't get monetized. I'm not gonna cuss. Sorry. So, now I started to kind of dive into a little bit, and we all remember the 50 Shades of Grey trend, right? When that started, and you know, I think they're calling it like mommy porn then, and everybody's kind of reading it, but no one would talk about what it was. It was kind of like secret sauce stuff for a little while, and then like I was like, me and my buddy at work were like, "What are you all reading?" Because they would like stop as soon as we walk up, stop talking about it, right? So then I kind of dove into, I'm like, I'm gonna find what's in here. So that's the same thing now. I'm like, I'm gonna find out about this. So I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm gonna start reading a little bit of these. This is not the first one I point out in the series or wherever. So when it comes back off a loan from one of our good friends, I'm going to borrow it and, you know, read it myself. But you know, I hear a lot of interesting things. I hear things about like these ferrymen with sizable big wings. I have no idea what that exactly means. I'm hoping it's not the same as like what this connotation with guys and big shoe sizes are. So we're gonna find out though. I'm gonna take one for the team and let you know. But one thing about stuff like this, I would say, is like you can make someone's day with reading these type of things, right? If you know your wife, girlfriend's into these type of books, or I guess vice versa, could be a dude who's into these type of books, for real. If they're into stuff, you can make their day, because then if you see that glow in their eyes and that pep in their step, like I was talking about in the trailer, the teaser, you could possibly make their night if you find out what's causing that action in there. So I'm gonna leave it at that. You take that however you want to take that, and I'm gonna leave you with that. So please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know if you thought this topic was ridiculous, and let me know your thoughts on these books. And for next week, I'm going to try to procure another beverage I think you're really going to like from a local distillery that makes some really good stuff. And we actually might do a drink versus a shot for Shoot Your Shot Saturday. We actually might make a espresso martini. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to need some assists from the creative director on that one, because I do not know how to make fancy drinks like that. And probably someone's going to leave in the comments that's not that fancy and hard to do. But that is you. I mean, I guess I could Google as well. But yeah, you know, feedback, good or bad, still feedback and engagement. That's what we're going for. All right, y'all, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.